And also, my grandpa had a heart attack at 61. He survived
Mm.
it. My great grandpa had a heart attack and died of it. And I don't know how old he was. That was in 1969. So it was a long time ago. But I knew that I wanted to not bring that to the table in my family. Additionally, my wife was married before me to an incredible man that died of cancer at 26.
Wow.
And I knew that something within my power couldn't be the reason that I would leave my family early. And my weight is within my control and my health is within my control. And I was not honoring that with my wife. That's where I got to the place of feeling like, okay, I'm neglecting my health and I'm creating a situation in
Mm.
which I'm the only one that's responsible for the possibility of me dying of a heart attack or developing some chronic disease that makes my life shorter or my ability to care for my family harder or impossible. And so I just got to a place where I knew that I needed to take responsibility for that and change it.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Highly Effective Man podcast. Today is another great day. I'm excited to have one of my clients on. He's going to talk about his experience of working with me, what he likes, what he doesn't like. And yeah, we'll just see how it goes. My client, Ben Lewis. Ben, what's up?
How's it going? Glad to be here, JP.
Awesome. And why don't you just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself?
I am 38. I have an amazing wife and a 1-year-old daughter. And
Nice.
I work in tech right now, but I've been in asset management and property management, real estate for the last 15 years. And I found myself over the last year really unhappy with where I was in work, where I was with my body, was starting to feel like my mental health was declining. And so about probably 6 or 7 months ago, really started to take a look at what I wanted for myself and for my family. And the biggest common denominator there was health, both mental and physical and spiritual, and really desired to change a lot of things. And so that journey really started late September, early October of this past year of 2021. I've seen a lot of good changes, and a huge part of that was JP starting with you. I'd gotten the ball rolling, but it was a little slow, and things have sped up nicely in the physical part of my life.
Nice.
So yeah, that's a little bit about that. Live in Northern California and in the Bay Area. Been here most of my life. I was born in Berkeley, went to school in San Diego,
Oh
came right
yeah.
back, and didn't get too far away. So yeah.
Nice, nice. Oh, you're talking about you weren't happy with where you're at in life. And imagine it wasn't something that you just kind of woke up and you're like, oh, I'm unhappy or whatever. But I think there's probably something that triggered you because whenever I talk to people and it seems like they get caught in the rut of just going to work, doing things, trying to focus on career. And then the next thing you know, the body gets let go of, and then that starts to affect other things. But was there anything specific that triggered you into wanting to look for a coach or wanting to join a program?
Yeah, I think like a lot of good things, you hear about things through word of mouth, through people who have been impacted by the positivity of whatever it is. And in my case, good friend from high school and college, Eric Townsend, had, oh yeah, oh Eric. Um, Eric and I go way back. I've known Eric since seventh grade, and we played football together in high school. And we both ended up at school in San Diego and ended up living together sophomore year. And we've stayed in good contact ever since. And he started your program in the first men's group. And similar to me, he had already kind of started to get the ball rolling. And I don't think Eric was a big guy. Like I wouldn't have looked at him and said he had weight to lose, but he was working on that and he was getting himself in order. And we got together one night and he was telling me about how he was only like month or month and a half in, and you'd lost 11 pounds working with you. I was like, oh, I I'm looking for that. I could really use that. And I think I've gone through periods in my life where I've worked really hard to get strong or worked really hard to lose weight. And for the past few years, a lot of that with getting married, having a stressful job, COVID. I've got a bunch of excuses, but a bunch of stuff had started to just decline or go backwards. And I was looking for a good way to right the ship and get back in order. And Eric told me about you. And so I sent you an email. I don't know if you remember, but I sent you an email wanting to join that first group. And you guys were already like
Yeah, that's
4 weeks in. I was like, let's get this going.
Yeah.
I don't really want to wait any more time. And Eric was telling me how much protein he was eating based on his weight. And I weighed at that time 30 pounds more than him. I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna be eating all day, every day, 7, 8 meals a day, if that's what he's eating based on his weight. I actually, even at that time, had a goal to lose another, I don't know, I think I was looking to lose another 10 pounds before we started. And I got down 8 or 9 with the goal of not having to eat so much once we started. So
Nice.
yeah, that's how I ended up with you.
Cool. That's great. Word of mouth is powerful, and it's awesome when you can see the results in somebody else. And yeah, that's the common comment that I get when people start training with me or coaching with me, is that they don't realize that protein's important. Protein's important for recovery. It's important to maintain muscle mass, especially if you're trying to lose weight, because as soon as you start losing weight, you want to make sure that most of that weight that you're losing is coming from the fat and not muscle tissue. So we bump the protein up and make sure that you hold on to as much of it as possible. Was there any obstacle to joining, or and if there was, how did you overcome that?
Yeah, I don't think there was. I was
Okay.
ready to go. And I think I've, over the last few years, and especially with the birth of my daughter, had lots of reasons to choose to live and want to live a long life. And I was excited and ready to go to get this started. I had gotten to an unhealthy weight and wasn't seeing, I think the biggest impact has been on my joints and years of lifting and football. I've had multiple knee surgeries and I've had a bunch of cortisone shots in my back because I have crushed discs. But obviously, weight impacts all of that. And I was chomping at the bit to get this weight off. And that was wasn't wanting to wait any longer to really get that going, or at least get some of the competition in order with a group of guys and push it further with some accountability and some good instruction.
So you're talking about I didn't want to wait any longer, and I wanted to get it going. So why now? Like, why was it important to get that going?
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I guess it was a few years ago now, my dad had a heart attack. He was 61 years old, and honestly, it scared the hell out of me. Scared me at the thought of losing my dad. And at that point, my daughter hadn't been born. I was with my wife, but we weren't married yet. But I knew I wanted a long life with her. And so I knew that I needed to make sure that I didn't have a heart attack. And the first thing I did was stop drinking alcohol. And that was a big thing for me. And with that came a lot of mental clarity and a pathway for mental health, which shortly after really opened the door for a lot of physical health.
Yeah. Now, I talk to people a lot, and I see people a lot, right? But for a lot of people, I guess the idea that they might be doing something unhealthy, the idea of they may already have a diagnosis of some type, right? But they still struggle to stop what they're doing. How were you able to do that? And is there anything that you would share with the audience that you found helpful?
Yeah, I can only speak for myself. And I know that I'm somewhat of a person of extremes and have some certainly addictive tendencies in my life. And that can be both good and bad. And I've seen both of those things in my life. And I have learned that I can say no to something, like flat out no, but I can't say I'll have a little. So whether it is alcohol or a certain type of food, if I'm trying to restrict and live within certain guidelines, I have to say no to those things. I can't live in a place of moderation. I'm just not good at it. And so for myself, I had to find that out in some ways, really hard ways. But I think for other people, you have to find out what works for yourself. And a lot of times that comes with a lot of experimentation. So, what type of workouts are the best for you? What type of food is good for you to live within? A lot of that depends on what your body can handle. Some people can't handle dairy. So, you have to modify
Right.
whatever, eggs, whatever. I have found through a lot of experimentation what works for me. And I feel like even just now at 38 years old, I'm finally in a place where I'm confident in what I should be doing, confident in what I can be doing, and then choosing the right thing. I mean, I, I said it before, alcohol was such a big block for me, and alcohol made so many excuses for me. And removing that has led to a lot of clarity and ability to make decisions that are best for myself and my family. And
That's
I
awesome.
think it's been really good. And I think removing some of the emotion and overthinking about things and just doing, sometimes you just have to do it,
Yeah.
whether that's waking up in the morning or starting to lift or whatever it is, or starting a program like this. Like, you just have to do it.
Yeah.
And I can't overthink or overanalyze. I just have to do.
Yeah. I think that's spot on, because I think whether it be weight loss or going after a goal or something like that, a lot of times people will give up before they even start. They think about maybe how challenging it is, or maybe how impossible it is, and you don't know unless you actually start. The only way you guarantee not hitting the goal is by not starting, right? Yeah. Ooh,
What's that Wayne Gretzky quote? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Something like
exactly.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And so, speaking of the program, what did you find as a result of training in the program and being a part of the men's group?
Yeah. First thing I needed was someone to give me guidelines in terms of macros. And we did that obviously the first week. I needed to have better sight into what I was putting into my body and not just estimating. I remember the first week or first couple of weeks as we were getting acclimated to everything,
Mhm.
I was pretty confident that one of the goals that I set for myself was that I was getting 10,000 steps a day, which shouldn't be that hard, but I'm working from home now and I don't get out that much. So that ended up being a little bit of a challenge. And I thought in the first 2 weeks, oh, I'm definitely getting 10,000 steps. And I went back and looked and I was getting 7 or 8,000. And I would have told you prior to us really diving into macros that I was eating pretty healthy. And I think you talked about this in your podcast this past week, that we think we're doing certain things, but until we actually analyze and have solid data on it, can't say for certain. And so once I started actually tracking my macros and actually looking at what is in everything that I was eating, there was so much clarity that I was overeating by a lot. And I would say that in general, our family eats pretty healthy. We might eat out once a month. And what we cook at home is certainly within a healthy guideline, but at that point, quantity becomes an issue, right? Once I started weighing everything and tracking everything, there was a lot of clarity into part of the problem. Part of that problem was overeating. And that was a big part of why either my results were slow or I wasn't seeing results at all.
Yeah. 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 I think I mentioned in the podcast, right? Like, there's all these different diets out there, but if you're not tracking the quantity of what you're eating, it's still possible to overeat on paleo, keto, you name,
Carnivore.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's important there's two parts to any diet. There should be at least the quantity of the food that you're eating and the quality of the food that you're eating. What was your overall feeling of the program? Like maybe from the beginning, how did you feel? And like maybe how you feel now that we're getting close to wrapping up?
Yeah. So I was super excited to start. I was a little intimidated meeting with a bunch of guys that I don't know. I didn't know you at the time. I knew enough about the program from Eric that I knew essentially what we were going to be eating, what that was going to look like. Didn't so much know about what element the physical workouts would play into it. And so there were some nerves surrounding it, but by and large I was just really excited. And I there are a couple guys in the group that I've really enjoyed getting to know and that I enjoyed checking in with. And I think that what I'm most so I set a goal of losing 30 pounds during the time that we were doing this. And I would say I was on track with that until about 3 weeks ago, but I'm currently down 26.8 pounds.
So
So
you're trying to hit 30, but so far you've
yeah,
only reached 26. Damn, that's
yeah,
not good.
I know it's not great. Um,
That's awesome,
I'm
man.
It is. It's really good. And
Yeah.
I had lost 17 pounds before we started from when I started trying. So from October to when we started, what was it? February 1, something like that. I think I
Yeah.
lost 17 pounds. And then from February 1 to today, what is today? April 29th. Yeah, I've lost essentially 27 pounds. And I think by the time we're done middle of next week, I should be at 28, 29. I'm not sure I'm going to hit the 30. I likely won't hit the 30, but it doesn't feel like I lost that challenge at all.
Yeah. You know what
Um,
I love about what you just said is that you know exactly how much weight or what you'll weigh a week from now. Like how many people can say, "Oh, next week I'm gonna weigh this much," right? Based on what I'm eating. But like
I,
that's how dialed in you are right now. Is I know that if I eat this food and these quantities, these types of foods, I'm going to weigh this, right? And there's no question in my mind that you're going to weigh that. I almost think that maybe you might weigh a little less. Who knows? But it's so cool to hear how confident and how just decisive it sounds, right? Like
yeah,
because a lot of times people start diets or are in diets and they're like, I'm following this, but I don't know how it's going to be, or I don't know what I'll be in 2 weeks. And you know, from being in the program based on your experience, and you know exactly how much to eat and where you're going to be next week. And we're talking about 4 pounds right now, different from now and your goal. And you're like, I'm
yeah.
not sure I'm going to make it, but I'm going to stick to the program and I'll probably weigh around this much. Right.
Yep.
To me, that's really cool.
So there's just been a ton of clarity.
Yeah.
And it's input versus output. But yeah, I have really high clarity into what my trajectory is. And the other part of this is we set goals.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that's provided a lot of help is setting a goal and a benchmark to move towards and then having the tools to know that I can get there. There are obvious variables, but I know what those variables are and I know how I can tweak things to hurry up and get to my goal or how long it's going to take to get to my goal. I have clarity into that. And it's pretty awesome. And, what we have
Oh,
done,
yeah. It's awesome.
it is, it's really good. What we have done this program, and I've done almost every diet out there. And I was on keto for a couple of years and I had good results when I was much younger. And I was on carnivore for a while and I had good results with that for a while. And this was later, but I was diagnosed with diverticulitis. And so just eating meat, I can't do. And
Mm-hmm.
that's another one of those things where I have to learn through experimentation as to what works for me. Carnivore, I lost a good amount of weight and I felt really good. And I think that it very possibly works well for some people. It doesn't work for me. But carnivore I'd done, essentially calories in, calories out, Seco. I had done a bunch of stuff. And a lot of it was taxing to my wife. And I know Eric talked similarly about this with this program, but I found that genuinely I can cook dinner for our family and I just have to portion out my section. There's nothing different about the way anybody else eats. So it's not as taxing or separate. There's no part about it that makes it hard for the rest of my family.
Yeah. Yeah. And we talked
So
about different ways to do meals and how to eat properly based on maybe a meal you didn't cook or whatever it is, and how to get a good feeling of the macros and so that you can track it and be good to go, right? Yeah.
and there are other things that I've learned more about through this session that I'm looking to implement once we're done. Intermittent fasting is one of those. I do not feel like right now I can still get the amount of protein in that I'm taking in and properly fast. And so I'm looking forward to likely doing one 24-hour fast a week or every 2 weeks, which just doesn't fit into the program. But I'm looking forward to that. I've done intermittent fasting in the past and really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I think it's a great tool that people can use, not only just to fast, but to kind of reset what you think hunger feels like, right? So many times we think we're hungry, but it's just that we're bored or we're stressed or we're looking to distract ourselves. So we eat something, we tell ourselves that we're hungry where we're not. And when you do a longer fast, like a 24-hour fast, there's a mental component to it, but then you get closer to that feeling of what actual physical hunger is as opposed to emotional hunger, right? We've been talking a lot about macros and nutrition and stuff like that. But what other benefits or what other parts of working in the group did you like?
Yeah. So one of the things that I think has popped up in my head a lot over the past couple of years that we really focused on that I appreciated and feel more informed on is just how we think of ourselves and how the words that come out of our mouths impact the way we see, react, and think about things. So when we run through a couple of exercises about positive talk or squashing negative talk, and I think there are times in my life where I would have thought that was stupid. If I'm honest, I would have thought like, that's kind of woo-woo garbage. But I see how framing the way we think about things and framing them positively really changes not only our impact on ourselves, but our impact on other people. And so, even just talking about my wife or talking with my wife, I can talk about my day and talk about how shitty it was for whatever reason, or I can look for the good things and bring those up instead. And it's as simple as a half glass full versus half glass empty outlook. But it is something that I've thought a lot more about since we started talking about that. And it provides, I don't know, there has to be some endorphin connection to how that works, because I think that negativity can perpetuate and feed on itself and get you into a cycle that's really rough. And positivity can squash a bad situation pretty quickly. And my wife is better at this than almost anybody I know with choosing positivity and choosing not to let something impact her negatively for a long time. And it's not simply sweep it under the rug. It may be, let's discuss it, find a solution and move on. But the positive talk seems so much more solution oriented than it does just almost the way gossip feeds its own negativity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's been super helpful.
Yeah. I like what you said.
And
It's I think about it like this based on some of the things that you just said. We've all been around people that are like the life of the party, they're fun, and it's a blast to be with them, right? And then we've been with people that are constantly negative and never have anything good to say, and then it's just draining, right?
Yeah,
And unfortunately, for some of us, and actually probably most of us, we're that negative person in our own minds. You know,
totally.
we're saying the things that we would never say to anybody else or out loud, but we're saying them about ourselves. We're saying them to ourselves. And when those words and that language is a part of the way you're thinking, it's really hard to get motivated to accomplish anything. And I'm not talking like just positive talk, but like we want to make sure that we're having conversations or the language in our head that's going to lead us to where we want to go. Not, and it's not like as simple as, oh, I'm just going to change my thoughts and it's going to work, right? No, it's not. We have 60, 70,000 thoughts a day. And, you know, more than half of those are on autopilot, right? So it takes time to retrain how we think. It becomes aware, right? Like you're talking about, really starting to notice it and think about it and apply it when you're with your wife and those types of things. So I think that's good, because I also think it's really cool that you mentioned that it's affecting the way you speak with your wife and those types of things. And so that's cool.
Totally. Yeah, I think I just have a lot more that's positive to say. And honestly, I left a job that was feeding my negativity, and I would squash that feeling just so that those around me didn't have to feel how I felt about my life at that time. And so it's really nice to be in a position to be excited and happy about where things are going. And that does it. It feeds the words that come out of our mouths and how we interact with others. And yeah, it's good.
Yeah. What other things are you doing now that I guess maybe you weren't doing before? Or when you look at the future, what do you see yourself continuing to do as you go forward? And how does that
Yeah.
look to you?
Yeah. So things I'm doing now that I wasn't doing before, absolutely tracking everything that I eat and then making sure I get a minimum amount of cardio in every day, which I just wasn't doing before. And it's a if I say yes to this one thing or I say no to that one thing, I've said yes to doing this minimum every day, right? So I have to get it done. So even we were we were traveling a few weeks ago and I still had to get out and get my walks in. And sometimes I was doing those at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, which wasn't great, but I wasn't going to sleep without getting that stuff done. Right. And so I think that I will continue to have my minimum amount of cardio every day. And during the middle of our program, I had a flare up on my back. So that set me back on lifting, but I've started lifting again. And I want that to be a bigger part of my life going forward. And then to be honest, I see myself tracking food for quite a while. I'm not quite where I want my body to be. And I think I have another 20 pounds to go at least. And I think as I get back into lifting, that may adjust. We'll see where it goes. And I may find that I want to keep going lower. I'm 6 foot, and I think my goal is between 190 and 190. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that with the amount of muscle that I have on me, I think that's a pretty healthy range, one that I would
Nice.
be really excited about. So I think I'll continue to track. And I obviously want to get to a place where I can estimate, but I also like we were out the other day and we were going to go to lunch, and there's a place near us called Mixed, and they do salads, and got up to the counter and just looking through everything. There was so much stuff in every salad that I'm like, I'll wait till I get home because I don't want to do the math or take the risk of this guy putting more salad dressing on it than it is advertised or like. I don't want to be weird about stuff. I certainly don't want to. And even during this time, I've had a fear of going to people's house for dinner or being in social situations where someone overanalyzes what I'm doing because I bring my scale and I don't eat a ton. And, or,
Did you lose
yeah,
any friends while you were on this?
no, didn't lose any friends, but who knows what they're saying about me behind my back.
What do you think
But
they're
we're
saying about you looking at you?
I don't know. I don't actually think that. But
No,
we were
I
at a
know.
friend's house and we had tacos and I had my scale out and I'm looking at the amount of protein that's out for everybody. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to eat like a quarter of that to even I'm gonna be I'm gonna be eating everybody else's
I'm gonna eat all
protein.
these
So
tacos, guys. Sorry, I got to get my protein in.
yeah.
That's
Well,
funny.
yeah, I'm taking
So
all the
you're
chips
saying
out.
that normally you'd think that you'd have to not eat anything, but you're saying that you're gonna have to eat most of it.
Yeah, if there's a steak out or a bunch of chicken, yeah, this night there was enough chicken for everybody if I wasn't there, but I'm gonna have to eat 150 grams of chicken, which is like a third of what's out here right now, or a quarter of what's out here. I'm gonna feel like a chump eating everybody's food. So I don't even remember what your question was, but yeah,
Yeah, just
I
what do you see yourself doing? But you know, I think there's probably a big hesitation when people, especially when you hear the story of you taking your scale to a party or whatever. But like, I think, I think there's a hesitation of people having to track their food or weigh it or whatever it is, and they probably feel like it's super difficult and just not practical. And I think a lot of people feel like that when they first begin to weigh and measure, but then you you come up with ways to make it easy, and also you start to get really good at just eyeballing food. And so what is your experience with that, starting where you're at now? I
yeah.
think it sounds like you're comfortable with it because you mentioned that you're going to continue to do it. So what is your experience with that?
I've definitely gotten better eyeballing food. I haven't fully tested it, but I can tell based on a fist size amount of chicken, how many grams that is, and I'm just gonna pull my phone out and enter in, okay, I think that was about 70 grams of grilled chicken or whatever. And then
Mm-hmm.
when I get home, I'm gonna re-enter that. I think that going forward, restaurants will be a special occasion thing, both for my own health, but also monetarily. But yeah, it's not something that I worry about. And it's kind of funny. Like Ben brought his scale, and we're still in COVID, Bay Area. That's certainly still a thing. And so we don't, our circle has gotten much smaller since COVID has started. And I don't think we really go to parties or anything like that. But or not much. And so it's not something that I really think about. And so for someone that was a little apprehensive about it because they're worried about, uh, I don't know, going to the office or the scale or something like that, honestly, just planning all the meals has been really helpful and finding the meals that are easy and easy to put together. A can of tuna, or you've you know exactly what's in that, or you find the bread that you like, or you measure out sweet potato before you go to work, or whatever it is. I think planning is key. And even when I went on work trips, I drove down to LA and I had a cooler in the car and I brought all my yogurt, and collagen peptides have been my friend. So, I bring the things with me that I know that I need. And I could let it be weird, or I could just say, this is what I'm doing. And that's what I've done. So
Yeah.
it is what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. How dare you lose 27 pounds?
Yeah. And I'm at the point where people are noticing, and people say more things to my wife than they do to me. And I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's definitely noticeable. And a few weeks ago, I had a night where I went and pulled out all the clothes that I had been saving for 2 or 3 years. And I put the first pair on that was like, I was pretty sure was going to fit, but I had a bunch that I was pretty sure wasn't going to fit. And the first pair of jeans was like big. And I was like, oh, okay. And I got through all of them and they all fit. And I'm not going to lie, it was an emotional experience because there's a part of me that thought I would just never be back to where I was or even lower. And it was super encouraging.
Wow.
Um, I was both proud of myself and excited about what the future holds as a
Heck
result of
yeah.
that.
Yeah. That's powerful to accomplish something, right? You're not done, but to come as far as you've come and experience something like that. That's huge. And
Yeah,
it does so much for your confidence. And I correct me if I'm wrong, but I imagine that you show up differently in your life based on what you've been able to accomplish in the last 3 months or so.
totally. Yeah, I got to a point where I didn't want to see people I hadn't seen in a while because I had gained a good amount of weight, or I didn't like the way my clothes fit. So the idea of going to a wedding and putting a suit on was not a good feeling. And it's the small stuff. It's, oh, I stopped tucking in my work shirts and those types of things. You don't look as nice, so you don't feel quite as nice about yourself. And it impacts your self confidence. So there were a lot of little things that added up were pretty detrimental to how I saw myself, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's no longer the case.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Is there anything about the program or any benefits that you've come across from this that we haven't talked about?
The biggest, we've touched on it a little bit, but the biggest thing for me has been accountability. And you've said this before. We all know how to do this. We can go find resources online and figure out what it is we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Dude, I've known for years, I've known for decades what I'm supposed to do. And I needed the accountability. I needed you and some of the other guys checking in saying, how's it going?
Yeah.
And looking at what I'm doing, having visibility into my eating and my activity levels. I needed that. And it is something that is much harder to get, especially with your expertise. And so I've really appreciated that. And even when I started to stall a little bit in my weight loss, probably a month ago, a few weeks ago, you were able to adjust my macros, and I stalled to about one and a quarter pounds a week of weight loss, which is still, I'm still losing weight,
Yeah.
which is nice. I just wasn't losing as much as I was previously. And we adjusted my macros, and the next week I lost, I think it was like 3.4 pounds in a week. And so to have that much visibility and then adjustability out the tips of my fingers and to be able to reach out to you. It wasn't like I reached out to you during our check-in. I reached out to you at some other time and was like, hey, I'm worried I'm stalling. What can I do? So I have really appreciated the relationship that I have with you. And I'm looking forward to the adjustment. What is the class that we're doing after this? Master class or
Yeah. So
continuation?
anybody that has gone through my training, I guess you could call it an alumni group.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a mastermind group because everybody's been through the same program and everybody knows the same language and that type of stuff. And so it's very easy to discuss things and just kind of know that everybody knows what I'm talking about. And we
Right.
just continue to push ourselves and really try to not try, but overcome the odds. And because odds are you are going to be overweight. Odds are you are going to have some kind of chronic disease when you get older, right? And so when you surround yourself with people that are, you know, beating the odds, it's a lot easier to do than trying to do it by yourself, right?
Totally.
And the cool thing about the group is that people share their foods, people talk about what's working for them, what's not working for them. And I learn a lot from the group as well, like different things. And I know that you contributed quite a bit in the group with the spreadsheets that you had designed. And anybody that's going through courses in the future, they're going to have access to some of those spreadsheets. And it's going to be a good thing. And each time the course goes through, it gets better and better. And it's because of people like you and anybody that's in the course. Everybody contributes in one way or another. And it's funny because every for the most people, there's some very similar problems when it comes to weight loss, but it's not always the same solution for everybody to lose weight, right? You have to adjust things. We have a template, right? But then I adjust it to meet people's needs and what's going on in their lives and those types of things. And a big part of it's the mindset and what's going on, right?
Yeah. And so one of the things that I'm looking forward with that class is I'm going to reach a point where I need an adjustment in my intake, in my food intake to maintain.
Yep.
And I would like for that to be with your guidance because I've lost weight in the past, done similar things, and then I get back to where I was. I got married 4 years ago and I lost 30 pounds to get married. And as of today, I'm lower than that wedding day weight, which is, I didn't think I'd see that weight again, to be honest.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so when I get to a place of maintenance, I want there to be some help with that.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the continued community and really competition. I want to be checking in and comparing. And some people don't love that, but I really do. I need to know, okay, if you're running, what's your mile time? Let me see if I can match that or beat that or whatever it
Yeah.
is. I miss some of the aspects of organized sports in that regard. And I think that there's some aspect of that in continuing in this group of like-minded people.
Yeah. And I think the people that listen to this podcast, you guys that are out there, you probably listen to this podcast because you enjoy challenging yourself. You enjoy trying to better yourself and be the best version of yourself possible, right? And that's my goal, is to reach the end of my life and look back on it and be like, man, I've done everything I I wanted to do, or I've at least attempted to try to do everything I've wanted to do, and look back and just be super content with what I've done, how far I've come, and those types of things. And I imagine that if you listen to this, you're probably similar, and you probably would enjoy being surrounded by people like that enjoy a little bit of competition and pushing each other and getting better, like those types of things. I know I do, and it sounds like you do too, Ben. And I
Yeah.
think that's awesome. Before we close up, what would you recommend other people to do the program? And if so, why? And I guess any final thoughts that you might have?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, on recommending you. On it, I wasn't sure if I was clear enough. Yes, I would absolutely recommend anybody that's looking into this to be coached by you. And my results speak for themselves. When you think about what your goal is, I don't think I, at the beginning, had a goal of losing 30 pounds by the end of this. But once I started to see what kind of momentum I had, it was clear that was attainable.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would have thought that in the spring I could lose 30 pounds without doing something ridiculous. And I do not feel like any of this has been ridiculous. So I would recommend anybody looking into this, check you out. And even if anybody has questions for me, like I'm available to answer questions about the program
Awesome.
and happy to do that. But I think it's also a testament that I'm excited to continue with you after this and continue to get better and leaner. And I'm really looking forward to that. So
Nice.
yeah, I've really enjoyed this. JP, I've enjoyed you and appreciate where my life is going and how the trajectory has changed as a result of this group. It's been really good.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think you said it, like it hasn't been ridiculous, right? So we're not like eating nothing. We're not doing some crazy diet or anything like that. We're just tracking what we eat and making sure that we eat to support whatever we're doing, and not any more than that. And so you're still eating a lot of food, and still it's just in the right quantities, and you're not overeating. So that's awesome. Man, Ben, thank you for being on, man. I'm glad that,
Yeah.
we were able to get you on here and talk about your experience, your results. It's huge. It's funny. I look at you. We're recording this on Zoom, and I'm looking at him, and just I can't see his body, but I can see his face, and I'm like, bro, your face is slimmed out big time.
Yeah. Yeah, it really has. And yeah, I look at pictures of myself. The time that we have the most pictures that I allowed, because I was not super excited about pictures for a long time. But around the birth of my daughter last March, there's a bunch of pictures, and I had grown my hair all through COVID. So it was like nasty long, my hair's super curly, and I was fat. I was just bloated and chubby looking. And I look at pictures then, I'm like, ooh, that's crazy. That was only a year ago. And really, the change has been in the last 5 months, 6 months, most of it in the last three.
Wow.
Yeah, it feels good. It definitely does.
Awesome. Right on, Ben. Thank you.
JP, thank you. Genuinely, thank you so much.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Guys, especially any men that are out there listening to this, this is going to go live on this week's podcast, upcoming up on Monday. But I do have another men's group starting May 9th. And if you're interested, there's still a few spots left. I try to keep the spots, or I try to keep the groups smaller so that everybody can get to know each other and we can have fun and joke around. But the results speak for themselves, right? Ben has been excellent. He's been consistent and he's contributed to the group. And so if you're looking to be surrounded by people like Ben, or if you feel like you're a person like Ben, by all means, reach out, sign up. If it seems like a good fit, you got to get on it right away because the spots will fill up and it's the next men's group. I don't know. We'll see. But thank you again, Ben. And
Yeah.
I look forward to continuing to rock this, you guys, and change lives and help people reach their goals. All right, guys, let's go.